I'm Pamela J. Pearsall, your Yavapai County Assessor. These videos have been produced for you, the property owner, to help you understand the property tax system so you can better know us and what we do. These videos are broken down into an easy to understand format, and we hope you enjoy them. Okay, we're here to talk about the nuts and bolts of property tax. And this is a really interesting concept, and I know you're going to get it because it's real simple. First, you received a postcard from our office in January 2009, and it was titled Notice of Value 2010 or 2010 Notice of Value. On that, you noticed several different values. First, there was a full cash value, which is basically your market value. And next, there was something called a limited property value. Now, limited property value, that's where the primary taxes come out of. Things that fund our local government, the maintenance and operating expenses of the assessor's office, the treasurer's office, and things like that. It's based on a statutory formula that the legislature gives us. So it's not based on market value like your full cash value it is. It's based on a mathematical formula that we use. And the first step is simply to look at last year's limited property value. Multiply it times 10% and add it together. That's the first number. The second number is to look at today's full cash value and last year's limited property value. We subtract it, and that number we multiply times 25%. Are you telling me you don't get this? Let me give you the math one more time, and I promise it'll be easy this time. The first number is simply 10% of what it was last year. So look at what it was last year, limited property value, times 10%, add it together, and that's one number. The second number is 25% of the difference. Today's full cash value, you're getting it. Today's full cash value, yes! And yesterday's limited property value, what's the difference? Times 25%, that's the second number. Right, it's not that hard. It just sounds hard. Now, whichever number is bigger, the 10% more or the 25% of the difference more, whichever is the bigger number, that's your new limited property value. And that's statutorily mandated by the legislature, and that's how we do that. Can't appeal it, it's just math, and that's how we do it. And most of your taxes are actually based on that number. Most of your taxes are out of that limited property value, and that's the maintenance fee that runs your government. Now, the secondary taxes come out of your full cash value. That's based on your market value. Whatever full cash value is, that should be what your full cash value is, or what you think you could sell your property for, and we give you that on your full cash value notification. So we're going to put all this together for you on a graph. You look at the limited property value and full cash value. Now the legislature gives us some other rules that are going to affect your property tax. If you live in an owner-occupied house, they give us ratios. So if you live in an owner-occupied house, that ratio is 10%, at least it is right now. That can change based on what the legislature does with the new budget. It's 10% today. You have your house rented out. Again, you'll see that the ratio is 10%. If it's vacant land, the ratio is 16% today. And if it's commercial, today it's 21%. Like I said, the legislature establishes those ratios, and they can change depending on what they do with the budget. So again, full cash value, what is that? That's your market value. Limited property, what is that? It's that mathematical calculation that I gave you. It's not based on anything except that math, and we do it every single property out of the full cash value. What tax comes out of that? Things you've voted on. Things like the school bonds or overrides. Things that you've decided you want more of, and so you went to the polls and the majority of you voted, and this is what comes out of your full cash value. So we have a full cash value, and we multiply that times the ratio that the legislature said. So I told you if it was a owner-occupied house, that'd be times the 10%. That's your assessed value. Then we take the limited property value, and we multiply that times your assessed, and then we multiply that times the primary tax base. So there's different tax rates depending on if it's your primary or secondary, depending on if you voted for something extra like school bonds. And then we add those two numbers together. So one of the questions I'm asked all the time is, well, in a declining market, my tax bill's going to decline, right? My house, the value they sent me on my postcard declined. Not necessarily. This graph shows you from 1999 to 2010, and the red line is basically what the values have done. You can see that they were fairly stable from 99 to 2004. Now we all know what the market did. You can see that on the graph, peaking in about 2007 and certainly declining now. The blue line is what your property tax bill actually did, and you can see that it did increase, but not at the same rate as the red line. We don't know what it's going to do right now because we don't know what those tax calculations are until they establish the budgets. But we can say that probably, unfortunately, the taxing authorities are going to need about the same amount of money to run their services. A library might need a little less, but not a lot less. So your tax bill's probably not going to decrease like your assessed value. And the way to maintain that is to watch those taxing authorities, your fire districts, your schools, things like that. So now we're going to try to put it all together in the final graph. And in this example, the primary tax would be $957 for this example property. And then the secondary tax, which would be $533, because remember I said one comes out of the limited property value, that's the primary tax. One comes out of the full cash value, that's your secondary tax. And then you get the credit, you add them all together, and you come up with the final bill. Here at the assessor's office, we strive to be fair and equitable, producing values that you can count on.